Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Welcome to The Decision, the EO Nashville podcast by and for entrepreneurs. As we navigate these journeys, we bring our members in here to talk about their stories from the front, dealing with all the things that we've got to deal with being entrepreneurs. I did that a different way again. I'm pretty proud of myself. And with me, as always, my partner in crime, the man I have the honor of co-hosting this podcast with, Mr. Robert Hartline.
Hello, Eric. I got to tell the audience real quick. Eric did a pull-up.
Yeah.
We just got to tell everybody.
Okay. So I have never been able to do a single pull-up. I've been working out for the last year and a half, and I've lost a lot of weight. And I did one pull-up, and I dropped off the bar and laughed my ass off.
There we go.
Because I could not believe it. And then Robert filmed me doing two. We'll have to put that on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'll put it on Instagram for sure.
This is a notice to all EO members that Eric Jackson can
do
a pull-up.
Yep. And our guest today, Mr. Colin Callahan, EO member, CEO of Acklen Avenue.
There's a story there.
Okay.
I recently
Founder.
promoted somebody into the CEO role.
That's right.
So, yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of unemployed right now.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
How does
That's
unemployment
the right
feel?
word. It feels pretty good. Weird. I mean, it's been many years since I've had this much time to do nothing, to try and figure out what to do with the rest of my life. So it's weird. It's good and it's weird.
So what precipitated that decision? Because I've heard a lot of people in EO debate on whether to hire somebody to run the company or not. What was the deciding factor?
I don't know that there was a factor that made me decide to do it. I think it's just sort of like all the other decisions that I have made. There's all these different things that sort of come together, and my brain gets to a state where it just seems like, oh yeah, that's what I should be doing. You know, just like placing, hiring different people in the company for different roles. I guess it seemed like the natural evolution of what I had been doing for 14 years.
Did you feel like you'd kind of hit your ceiling of what you could achieve?
I think I was not really very conscious of exactly why I made the decision to, and this is not the decision that I'm here to talk about, but I'll be happy to talk about it. But I know it was, to a large degree, it was just a feeling that I think it was more about energy than about not being capable of taking it to the next level. Although I have considered that too. I don't have an MBA. This is the first business I've ever run. So I've never gotten past that point. And over the years, I've always wondered, can somebody do this better than I can? I think that one of the main factors is just that Stephanie, my CEO, is lit up right now about being the CEO. And I was not anymore. Yeah. I was tired, burnt out, and maybe I just needed a sabbatical, but it feels like the right decision. She's doing a great job.
You got to feel good to see someone excited about it.
She's very excited about it. I have mixed feelings about it because I feel like she's really doing a better job than I was doing, at that point in time. So I feel a little jealous sometimes that she's doing such a great job and everybody's just really loving how things are going. But at the same time, the stronger feeling is just like proud of her. I'm really proud of her. I'm excited for her. And I feel like I don't think I could have picked a better person. There's no way I could have picked a better person for that role because she fits into the culture really well. She's doing all these things that I don't know if I had just run out of energy again.
When did you know that you needed to change?
That's a good question. Every year, I know I need some change, and I don't usually know what it is. Like every year since the company changes and grows and I feel uncomfortable, adding so many employees or doing things that we've never done before. I feel like pretty much every year I've gone through the process of trying to figure out, am I the right person for this? Or do I need to talk to a few different people to get an answer? And that's a whole story too. Like for a while, every year I was going and thinking, maybe I need to talk to an executive coach. And I would set up 3 or 4 meetings with executive coaches to interview them. And by the end of talking to 4 of them, I had solved the problem. So I realized that is actually the way that works well for me, as opposed to the forum itself works well to some degree. But what works really well for me is to talk to several different people from, sometimes I talk to my son about business.
They're asking questions that you've never heard before that.
No, it's just it's sort of like you're doing right now. They're not even necessarily deep questions or really super hard questions. They're just thoughtful questions. And it gives me, that's how I process everything. And that's how I come up with answers to things, is just talking about it. And especially if somebody on the other side is just listening like you guys are right now, that's how, I'm probably going to leave here with the answer to my next problem, just because I've talked through it with you all.
Was it a feeling of stuck?
I was feeling very, very stuck. And again, I feel like I got to that point at least, every 2 years, if not every year, with so much change, and yeah, just not knowing that the feeling of stuck is what has me know that I need to go talk to a bunch of people. And then that sort of breaks that up. And then I realize sometimes I just realize, I need to keep talking about this. I don't have to solve it right now. I just need to have on my calendar, meetings with a whole bunch of different people. And I think that helps me quite a bit. Sometimes I'm so overwhelmed, and in the past we've gone through this process of solving problems on a regular basis, and it's nice to do that. It feels really good to look at our issues list and then come up with some kind of answer. But I think that some of those things you need to give more time to, and just trust yourself to go and meet with a whole bunch of different people, and that at some point you're going to be able to make a decision about it.
Yeah, I think the thing that in my experience has helped me is to experiment with different ideas. And those conversations will, I guess, give you a little mind exercise about what it might be like. And if you've got somebody pushing and going, hey, what if this happens? What if that happens? Have you considered this?
Yeah.
Makes you do it with low risk.
Yeah. Yeah. I would do that with a whiteboard. I would just come up with, all right, so here's the problem we're trying to solve, and then sort of write out a few different scenarios.
What got you in the custom software business?
I was working at Starbucks a long time ago, and I wondered what that muffin button did. You hit the muffin button, and magically someone in Seattle knows that a muffin was ordered. Kind of, really, that was a long time ago, but that's when I first wanted to take some computer classes, some programming classes. And I did that I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I'm from Boston, so don't blame me for the insurge of Californians. But I got very interested in it at that point, because I saw people sitting wherever they wanted to sit. They would be I was working in coffee shops, and people would be sitting on their laptops doing work. And that was really inspiring to me, and just the autonomy of it, being able to work different times, whatever time of day I felt like working, I could do that. Also, there's a lot to just solving these small problems every day. That's what I liked about writing code, So I was the first software developer in the company. Well, my business partner was we were about the same time. We we were the first 2 software developers in the company. So,
And what was the first problem you solved for somebody?
As a business owner, you mean, or just a software developer?
What?
That's a good question. I'm sure it was related to healthcare. One of the things that I worked on was, I can't remember the terminology around the medical stuff that I was coding around, but basically taking remittance advice and sucking out the data and then putting it into a report or something like that. But that was just that probably sounds super boring to a lot of people, but it was fun for me.
Well, I mean, I think you like solving problems because it gives you a little dopamine hit. Just a drug addict, all you are, right?
Yeah.
We're just little drug addicts.
Are we all?
We all
Yeah.
are. Yeah, exactly.
We just take a little hit of our own little medicine trying to solve people problems. So so you learned the code, and then when did you decide to go work for yourself?
That was about 14 years ago. I was working at a company called FIS Global, and I was working on a team of people that were building some software that was an online tax. You can pay your taxes online. And I was really getting into agile principles and practices. And, for those EO members that don't know anything about that, I guess just look it up, because if I try and describe it right now, anyway, it's more of a mindset, right? So I really liked the mindset, the approach that agile was, prescribed. So, but where we were working, they didn't really want us to try new things, and they were just all about sort of getting things done. So I was working on the side for another company. I was working, like 20 hours a night. I was working full time at FIS and 20 hours a night at this other company. And they asked me if I would come and work full time for them. And I said, hey, I've been thinking about starting a company. And they loved that idea because I was able to kind of solve a lot of small problems at a regular cadence. And that was sort of the beginning of it. And as soon as I had that taste of autonomy, that was about it. Like I really, anytime any problem came up after that, anytime I thought, I don't want to do this anymore, it always came back to, oh, well, then I'm going to have to go and sit in, a cubicle for 8 hours a day. Didn't sound very appealing to me. So that was the beginning of it.
So how many people do you have on the team now?
I believe we have about 130 people on the team. The majority of the folks are in Latin America. We started off in Honduras and expanded from there. There's still probably about 80 people in Honduras.
How is it working with a remote team? Do you go see them a lot, or how does that work?
Before the pandemic, I was going down to Honduras, occasionally, and I kind of missed that. So we're planning to do that again, but we've been fully remote for 14 years. So it just comes naturally to us. We do like to get together, hang out with people and do a whiteboard session or something like that, have dinner with people. But for the most part, we just got really good. We have all these rules to follow that make remote working a lot easier, more productive.
What does that look like?
It's just simple things like always have your camera on. Some people, we used to go to meetings with customers and they wouldn't have a camera on. I felt really disconnected, and you couldn't tell if somebody's paying attention or not. Yeah. And before the microphones got really good in computers, we also just made sure that everybody had a headset. So it was really just some rules around making sure that the communication was strong, because that's the most important thing about building software, is to make sure you're building what the person wants you to build.
Yeah. You got to figure that out early.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing in the work that we do. If you start down the wrong road, it's a lot to rebuild something and to fix it.
Yeah. And that's a agile principle, or I don't know, something that goes along with it. The idea of fail fast.
Yeah.
Right. You want to do something really small and, get it in front of people.
Right.
So you've got that short feedback loop, but then you've only done something small wrong, and then you can course correct and move on. And so that's really how we run our business as well. We're using EOS or something similar to EOS, but we do it from an agile perspective.
So what's a big decision that you had to make in the company in the last 14 years that was a big challenge for you?
So I think that the biggest decision was to go from a relatively flat organization to one with a lot more structure using EOS or something similar to EOS. And that decision was the way that I decided to do that was really, I was in a period of time where I was really struggling with, just like I said, every year we'd hit a wall with something, and it would be really hard to figure out what's not working here. And I had heard people talking about EOS before, and through different conversations with other EO members, I read a little bit of the EOS books, Traction, but really more than anything, what clicked for me was something's missing, and maybe it's an operating system, maybe it's a process, maybe it's sort of like we had worked on making the teams work really well. So because that's our product is a software development team at a weekly rate, right? And they're so effective and efficient, and everything works. And what makes them work is you've got the right people in the right seats, and you've got processes, and you go to a meeting, and those meetings are you're not just sitting around wondering what you're doing, what to do. How does this meeting work? What are we doing? And not getting anything out of it. And so really it was just the idea of an operating system, which really landed for me, and the idea of having a visionary and an integrator, that really worked for me, because I didn't want a whole bunch of people reporting to me anymore, because that was making me a little crazy. So that was really a big decision, and it didn't feel like a very hard decision for me. It felt like that's it. It felt like this is a big decision, but it was not. With other decisions, sometimes I felt like, I don't know, should we do this or should we not? Instead, this is one of those things that I went to everybody and said, hey, this is what we're doing now. Yeah. And I wasn't asking people for their opinions about it, which I would normally do. And then after that, that one decision carries with it a whole bunch of other small decisions about the future. One of them being that we were going to build some structure. We were going to have a senior leadership team, and we were going to have a middle management team. And I was going to hire a COO, who is now my CEO. And I also decided that I really had to trust that COO to make decisions about the people that were on the senior leadership team. And that brings me to like a few decisions that we had to make along the way. We had some people on the team that I was very close with, but it was not really working, so it felt very confusing. And, when I hired Stephanie, she came to me at a certain point, and it wasn't very long. She was really quick with starting to make changes, which rattled some people, but made me very excited, because I felt like we're going in the right direction at this point in time. She said, these two people, they're not the right fit for the senior leadership team. And immediately I knew it right away. And I was like, I know. And so that was, I would say, and I think I talked about this with you a little bit, Robert, that the decision wasn't extremely hard. it was really the execution of it, like going through with the things that you've decided to do that you kind of know,
putting it out there, like taking that big leap, stepping forward and just doing it.
Yeah. And just doing it. Along with all the hard decisions along the way about, that's not the right person anymore. They've been here for a certain amount of time. They've contributed to the company in a great way, but they're just not the right fit for that role anymore. Those were the hardest decisions for me.
Do you feel like you're on track for your 10-year target since you started EOS?
Our 10-year target has changed a few times, so I'm not even sure where it's at right now. We're going to redo it in our yearly yearly
annual
meeting.
Planning.
Yeah. Help me out here, guys. So yeah, we're going to revisit that because those things, I feel like we've put those things out there, and in my mind, 10 years. Things so much can change in 10 years. That actually didn't work really well for me, was to think too much about the 10-year plan. And then the 3-year plan that we came up with, no, we didn't come anywhere close to making it. And, but it was very helpful in forcing us to make decisions along the way that will set us up for future success. Like next year looks really good for us. Last year was terrible, by the way. And it was a sort of a combination of, a lot of people say, oh, the market was terrible. It wasn't great for us, but I always feel like we should have done something better. So it forced us to make some really tough decisions last year that were things that we should have done a long time ago.
But we take forever to figure that stuff out. Don't we?
Yeah.
It's like, how much do we have to be beat over the head to make a decision? And it's like,
yeah.
Yeah. And you can second guess yourself, but I think the only choice you really have is to, acknowledge, hey, I should have done this sooner, but hey, here we are.
Yeah.
And now we fixed it. Let's move on and not dwell.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I don't tend to regret things for whatever reason. I think that I would like to be better at it, though, better at making decisions before it gets super painful. And I think that I'm there. But what it took was suffering pretty badly last year.
Yeah.
So that at this point, I'm just watching things that I know, like, no, don't do that again. Don't go spend a ton of money on this or that or whatever that doesn't really fit with the plan, the long-term plan.
Well, it sounds like you've stepped into this new world. You have a new leader. You're letting go of the vine is what we call it in the EOS world, letting go of the vine. And when a visionary, you consider yourself a visionary?
Yeah. I don't know if I love that term because it sounds a little pompous to me, but
does it? Well, no
offense to anybody, words land different ways for everybody. That to me feels a little, I don't know if that's.
Well, I know for me, when I finally let go and I had my integrator doing the things and I got this little lonely feeling.
Yeah.
I was like, it's like my worth seemed like diminished.
Yeah.
And then it took me a couple of months to get out of my funk. And then to go, no, I have to think about bigger things and solve bigger problems. And that meant building relationships, finding other people I could buy their companies and I could be around other people that were crushing it. And that's when I had the time to be an EO and actually be with new people that were way smarter than me doing awesome things. And so there is that it's a purgatory state that you'll find yourself in where you're like, what am I supposed to be doing? Because someone else is running the show.
Yeah. Well, and it's even more so now because I've stepped out of the CEO seat and I have never had this much space, this much time for my brain to relax, and it's fighting to stop relaxing, so I'm still trying to figure it's brand new. It's only been a couple of months now. So I'm not sure how much time do I give myself to just sort of let go of things, and yeah, I have that fear of getting too comfortable, and because I actually love I love being busy. I love getting things done.
Well, yeah.
Have you had any revelations in that couple of months?
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Well, the one fear that
That's
a lot
a
of
good
people
question,
fall
though.
into is like they'll be drawn to start another business and start another distraction.
Yeah.
Or, fall back in and then like be next to Julie in the office and telling her how to do her job and like, start meddling. And I mean, a lot of drawbacks can happen
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to stay busy because we're addicted to the problems. And if we don't get that, we don't get the dopamine hit. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, God,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's a great question though. I wish I had the answer. I think I'm still in the middle of that,
2 months is not a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I think that the if I had to think of anything that I've gotten out of it so far, it is just that I'm a little fearful right now of taking on anything big. So that's a struggle right now is I like taking on big things and because I don't like to just do stuff to not have it fit into a bigger picture of things.
Yeah.
So I like to take things on, but anytime that I write down something that I'm going to do, I think it's the 14 years of not resting that has me, I don't know if it's terrified or just overwhelmed, really resistant to taking on something big. So I'm hoping that a few more months of not really being busy and stressed about things, maybe something will come up that is really what I really want to do.
Eric, you did this.
Yeah. Yeah. About 2 years ago and handed off the day-to-day operations to my leadership team. And what made me do is think, well, okay, what am I best at? What are the things that only I can do that I love that fit with my core purpose? And it's connecting and growing people. So I'm still leading the team in a way, but I'm also out making connections out in the world. And a lot of those are, the referral sources for us. And I'm helping other people find their ideal referral sources. And so, after a year of that, I was talking to Ginger Jones one day and this idea started to bubble up. Well, we need to create this networking group. Well, my template for making a decision like that was, okay, I've got my core purpose to connect and grow people. Does that networking group or anything else that I'm considering doing fit with that core purpose? Because if not, then it's a no. Yeah. If it does, it's a hell yeah. And so we decided to do that. And so I think that, understanding you've got an opportunity, I think, to understand yourself better because you've been in this, fight for 14 years trying to grow. And so
it's hard to see where you are when you're just sitting there doing all the work.
Yeah.
Congratulations for making this decision. I think
appreciate it. Thank you.
You probably haven't seen the fruits of this yet, but
the fruits of making that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm often like looking to the future a little too much and I don't really look, when somebody says, like you said, oh, congratulations, then in that moment I go, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Right. I forget to do that, because I'm always just trying to figure out what's going to happen next year. Yeah.
It also frames the business as an asset paying you.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, it's probably a better way to look at it is like when you get to step in to be the visionary, it's like letting your kids off to school and they've gone off to college and you're like, oh, there's a life. Oh, my wife. Hey, wife. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, what do we want to do? Like,
I can play the drums in the middle of the day.
Oh, wow. This is amazing.
And I do.
And you do.
Yeah.
Well, what would be some insight you could give a new entrepreneur that joins EO, how to navigate, how to create that EO experience that would work for them? What's some feedback you'd give someone?
It reminds me of Eric and I were just talking about workout apps, and he likes an app that he has
Ladder. Yeah.
for certain reasons. And I like mine for certain reasons. And it's really just because, Eric wants, you work out every day, right? Or you did, because that's what keeps you on track.
Yep.
And for me, the app that I use is, it's super flexible, right? So now I'm kind of going down this other path, but really it just reminds me of, I think you have to, don't think that it's going to be set up to work for you. Like EO, in my mind, is not set up to work for one type of person. Definitely for entrepreneurs, but I've done it my own way, right? And we know how to do that. We know how to do it our own way. So if something is not working for you, that's okay. There's so much to get out of EO, just like this conversation. For me, the best part of EO is I like to just meet with individual people or a couple of people at a time, and, solve my problems or help them solve a problem. Just listen, connect to people, right? So that connection is what's worked the best for me. And that's how my business is successful. It's just because I've made all those connections along the way over, 14 years. And before that as well as a software developer. So back to advice for anybody that's new to EO, email me and we'll get together and have a coffee. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of almost the same advice I give to my son, like, spend time with people that are trying to do what you're trying to do and talk through the things that are frustrating you or worrying you or exciting you. And it's just, your brain will do the rest.
Colin, thank you for joining The Decision. And if you are an entrepreneur in Nashville, Tennessee, and you're looking to belong to a community, to be with other people doing cool things, so you can learn and do the thing that you want to do, you can visit eonashville.com and join 350 plus entrepreneurs who get together every single month in a forum and deeply connect and make powerful decisions together. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.